Okay, Chairman, you're ready to begin.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, members, officers and public. Welcome to the planning meeting of the 9th of December, and we'll crack on with the agenda. The first item are the apologies, please.
Thank you, Chairman. We have received apologies from councillors Roger Glithero and also from Harriet Pentland.
Thank you. Members, you've seen the minutes from the last meeting, which were on the 11th, 12th and 18th of November. Do you have any disputes with the contents of those or any suggestions of anything? Or shall we take them as read?
I do, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, who's that? Jeff, is that you?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chairman. It's relating to the minutes of the 18th of November, where it was stated for the Rectory Farm A Church that I had met with neighbours, applicant and some parish councillors. It should read, had met with neighbours, applicant and had attended some parish council meetings, but did not take part in the debate. Thank you.
Have you got that, Charlie?
Yes, thank you.
Can you amend the minutes accordingly?
Yes.
Any other questions on the minutes, members? No, thank you. Then when I can, I'll sign them. Next, item 3 on the agenda are the declarations of interest and informal site visits. The first are declarations of interest. Do we have any tonight?
Yes, Chairman.
Bert, I can see your hand up, and then Robin. Go ahead, Bert.
I've done an informal site visit to 4 Higham Road, Rusden, but I didn't speak to anybody. Thank you,
Okay,
Chairman.
thank you. Robin?
Yes, Chairman, I would declare another interest in application 20/00840/full, which is Essex Road 1, and I will speak from the public gallery.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Andy, is that your hand up?
It certainly is my hand. I conducted a informal site visit to the same Higham Road site. I did not speak to anyone there.
Okay, thank you. Any more?
Yep.
Jill?
I also conducted informal site visit to both to the Higham Road and also to Blotts Barn, but I did not speak to anyone.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Is that it? Thank you. You will remember what I've said before is that anything that you've had or done or heard or seen or been talked to about before this meeting is irrelevant, and you must make your decisions based upon what we say and debate tonight. Thank you. The informal site visits, well, I think we covered that, haven't we? We've done them both together there. Mm-hmm. Any other informal site visits? No, because some of you declared them, so that's okay. Item 3 is done. Do we have any questions at item 4, please?
No, Chairman, no questions received.
Item 5, section 106 agreements and delegations. Who's doing that?
Me, thank you, Chair. There are no extensions of time requested on the section 106 agreements, but just to update you that 18/01648/OUT, the decision has now been issued on that one. And with regards to the delegations, you'll note that the items from the 11th and 12th of November aren't included on that, but I'll ensure that they're included in the January committee report. So it's basically just to note the contents of both reports.
Okay, that's fine. Any comments, comments, members?
Yeah,
Jill?
there are 2. Well, there were 5 on that page 15 that said that you wanted an extension to the 31st of December.
I think that was just carried over from last time. I think those have already been agreed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Well spotted, Jill. Anyone else? No, let's move on the agenda then. And we're now looking at the appeal decision monitoring report. Can we have that, please? Who's doing it?
Sorry, Chair, that's me.
You again?
Yeah, me again. Just again to note the contents of that report. And yeah, all 4 were dismissed.
Fine. Good show. Right, so we'll move on to the applications for tonight. And we have 3. And we'll start with obviously the first one, which is on page 2, which is the one Higham Road, Rushton, where Peter, you're going to introduce this one to us, aren't you?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So with this one, we are changing the recommendation this evening to one of deferral. We've received information very late in the day in regards to viability, also a letter from the applicant's solicitor, amongst other things that we need to fully assess to be able to update the report and give members an accurate report to consider. The aim is to have it deferred to come back at a later committee meeting where members will be able to fully assess and consider the application in full.
Thank you, Peter. Andy, you want to make a point?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair. I'm a ward member for this, and I would normally be making a recommendation at some point towards the end of the debate. I'm happy to propose that we defer this item, but I would like it to be noted that we will have a full opportunity to debate all aspects of this application when it comes back to committee, not as has happened in the past, being restricted to just some aspects of the application. So I'm proposing we defer this and that the entire debate takes place at a future meeting of this committee.
Peter, are you happy with that?
Yep, that's what we'd be recommending. We're deferring it because of information that's been received.
Okay,
so
we've got
that.
So we've had a proposer, and I see that Jill's got a hand up. Are you seconding it?
So I will second that.
Fine. So it's been proposed and seconded that we defer this application. Can we have a show of voices?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, wait till I say when I say it. All those in favour of that proposal, say aye.
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 Anyone not in favour of that proposal, say no. Any abstentions? Then that's carried. Thank you, members. So we'll move on to the second one tonight, which is in fact the third one on the list. So we're moving to Blott's Barn, which is on page 61. Okay. And Amy, this one's yours, I think, isn't it?
It is, thank you. I've just completely lost everything on my screen, so I have to ask just for a few moments just to log back into everything.
Okay.
And bring that PowerPoint back up.
Shall we talk amongst ourselves while you get yourself together?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. It may have happened to all of us, so.
Yeah, Citrix has just gone down, unfortunately.
Chairman, while we're waiting for Amy, have you discussed with which member is going to present it? Is it Lance, since I think he's sort of popped up?
Yes.
Yeah, Lance is here, isn't he? Can you hear me, Lance?
Yeah. I've been here since 6:15.
I've seen your picture before now.
Video.
Are you taking the Rawns one tonight?
Yeah.
Fine, thank you. Now we know. Okay. Are we nearly there, Amy? No.
We're not, I'm afraid. No.
Chairman, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why you wouldn't know, given the fact that it's my ward.
No, I wasn't sure.
Right.
I was just confirming, basically.
Thanks.
If it's any comfort, I wasn't sure which ward it was either.
I think I might have to proceed without my PowerPoint. Are members happy with that?
Yep. Give us the verbal.
Okay.
Is anyone else able to bring the PowerPoint up? One of the other officers?
I don't think so. I think we're all in the same position. I can't open it to send it to anybody now, unfortunately.
Amy, do you know where it's saved? Because I've managed to get back into the folders.
Yeah, it will be saved in my AB file under committees and then PowerPoint. I can't get anything at all. It's all gone.
I'll
The
try and
benefit of
screen.
virtual meetings.
Yeah, all I can get is Google Maps, so that I think that's the best I can do.
Okay then, Amy, shoot with that.
Yeah. Any luck, Carolyn?
We can see the front page.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
You can see it. Okay.
Lovely, thank you. You just skip through as and when. That would be great. Okay, thank you, Chair. Sorry for the delay.
Okay.
I'll focus on the key points now rather than go through everything, as members will be familiar with the report already. So just as a recap, the applications for an additional office to create 3 new offices in 1 new building adjacent to the existing Blotts Barn office unit. Carolyn, if you could just skip a few slides. You can see in this slide here, the one that Carolyn's on now shows the existing Blotts Barn building, and then there's like an area of grass next to that and slightly to the north, and that's where the building would go. A storage building is also proposed that would be used by one of the occupiers of the new offices. This would be, you can just see a sort of a smaller rectangular grey shape to the top left-hand corner. It will go in that area. That would be used by one of the occupiers, as I say. The existing access would be widened from 6.2 metres to 7.3 metres, and the site would be landscaped and 32 additional car parking spaces would be created. Hard surface access roads would also be laid out in the site. Members will note from my email on Friday that the applicant is also proposing to formalise 4 of the 9 existing very formal passing places that already exist between the application site and the start of Brooks Road. The passing places to be formalised would be maintained by the applicant or their successors in title, as you'll see in the updated condition on the update sheet. The local highway authority does not object to the proposal on the basis that whilst the site does not lie on a public transport route, the proposal is small scale, and the provision of formal passing places would be to the benefit of the wider community. So when balancing these 2 issues together, the proposal would not have a detrimental impact on the road network or highway safety overall. One crucial element of relevant planning policy is contained within paragraph 84 of the NPPF, and is set out at 7.7 of my report. It states that sites to meet local business and community needs in rural areas may have to be found adjacent or beyond existing settlements and in locations that are not well served by public transport. It continues by saying that previously developed sites should be encouraged in this scenario. The proposal meets both of these aims. The visual impact of the proposed development, along with all other material planning considerations, are detailed in my report, and all are considered to have been satisfied. I draw members' attention to the comments on the update sheet, including the addition of a condition requiring a construction management plan, which includes a routing agreement to steer HGVs away from the Denford end of Brooks Road. So your officers recommend that the application is approved, subject to the conditions noted in the report and on the update sheet. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Amy. So that's the application. We have a speaker or two speakers on this tonight. The first one is Rachel Lenton, who's an objector. Can you hear me,
Good
Rachel?
evening, Chair. Yes, I can hear you. Thank
Fine,
you very much.
You've got exactly 3 minutes from now.
As a direct member on the north side of the site, we will have full view of the barns. The new development will have a major impact on the view we have from our home. Also, unlike the described point 7.22, we'll all be able to see the huge, enormous additional buildings. Anyone travelling from the Denford side will also be able to see these buildings as well. This is not a small addition with minimal impact to the rural setting, but a major new development with significant safety impacts to all residents, pedestrians, horse riders, dog walkers and cyclists that use the road for health and exercise. The increase due to the corona situation has led to probably a 200% increase in pedestrian use of the road. The implementation of the footpath from the site to Midland Road, noted in point 7.34 of the committee report at a cost of circa 169,000, says that such cost is not consummate to the scale of the development proposed in this instance, or to the likely number of people using a path to travel to and from the site on foot, and will result in obvious viability issues of the scheme. Note 7.15 states that the policy R10 and the RPN seek to achieve a safer, more accessible environment for pedestrians, cyclists and other road users. It encourages development proposals to demonstrate how they contribute to the creation of safer roads and streets for pedestrians and cyclists. So, what happens to the people who do use Brooks Road currently as walking, cycling or horse riding route? The verges are not suitable as raised and indented with curbs, grips for water flows to be walking onto. The increase in heavy vehicles has already been noted by current residents on this road. So how are they going to make the whole road safer, and how is the development showing they're complying with policy R10? Note 7.25, advises only 19 peak hour vehicular movements, but an increase in 32 spaces would generate up to 64 peak hour vehicular movements per day, plus additional visitor movements. With no pedestrian access, most will travel by car. Passing places, originally on the form, I think it was 7.29, said there were going to be 9 passing places. On the amendments from today, it says the 4 current ones will be upgraded. These 4 passing places are located from the A45 bridge to the Denford corner. There is nothing from the Raunds end to the site. The size of the site will increase by 142%.
That's 3 minutes.
Oh,
Sorry, is that 3 minutes or is that?
Yes, yes.
It is 3 minutes. Sorry, I have to cut you off there, please. Thank you very much. Can we move to the second speaker of the night, please? Who is Mr. Carl Stott, who is the agent. Are you ready, Carl?
*6 to unmute Mr. Stott.
Hello.
Are we then? Is that Mr. Stott?
Yes, hello. Thank you.
Right, you've got 3 minutes from now.
Lovely. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak in support of my client's application this evening. My name's Carl Stott. I'm a chartered town planner and director of 1947 Limited. You'll be pleased I don't have much to add to what is a comprehensive and balanced report and overview from your officers with whom we've engaged throughout the process. The scheme proposes additional office and storage units on an established business park to meet evidenced local demand for high quality, self-contained accommodation. The scheme builds upon the success of the existing business park and differs in its unique offer from other employment sites available in the wider area, particularly the Enterprise Centre, which itself offers only serviced and start-up units. The scheme aligns with national policy, which acknowledges that in order to meet local business needs in rural areas, sites may have to be found adjacent to or beyond existing settlements and in locations not well served by public transport. In this instance, the site already forms part of an established employment use and comprises previously developed land. The scheme also aligns with the neighbourhood plan by supporting future regeneration, diversification and expansion of employment opportunities. The scheme is of a high quality design, respectful of the site's existing buildings and with additional landscaping to be provided, which will help to further assimilate the new buildings into their wider rural setting, whilst also providing benefit to ecological interests. The scheme will deliver positive physical enhancement to the safety of Brooks Road through improvement to 4 passing places, and with these measures being considered proportionate to the scale of the development. These highway improvements will bring benefit to all users of the road and not just those associated with the business park. Following discussions throughout the planning process, the Local Highways Authority has no objections to the scheme and is satisfied there will be no significant adverse impact upon the safety of Brooks Road as a result of a development, and therefore no justification to warrant a refusal of planning permission on highways related grounds. In conclusion, with all of the technical matters having been addressed in the application, the scheme is considered to represent sustainable development, the benefits of which clearly outweigh any negative impacts, and I therefore hope you can support your officer's recommendation of approval in this instance. Thank you again, Chair, for your time and allowing me the opportunity to speak in support of my client's application.
Thank you, Carl. So those are the speakers on this application. We now move to the ward member to give his opinion on the application, and that is Lance Jones. Lance, you're on.
Thanks very much indeed, Chairman. I can see this is a finely balanced judgment by the planning officer concerned, and I can see the use of the words like tilt and so forth in there. So I'm very interested to hear what other members have to say about the balance here between economic development and also the preservation of the local wildlife and community. So I welcome comments from other members, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Lance. There's one, Peter Watson. You're first, then Dudley. Peter.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just unmuting myself there.
Yep, you've done that.
Just 1 or 2 questions, if I may, Chair. I noticed that they're talking about extra car parking spaces. Are these extra? The figures of 32 and 37 appear in various places. Could I just ask the officer to clarify if those are over and above the existing car parking spaces?
Amy, would you like to answer that one straight away?
Yes, they can do. They are additional car parking spaces. They would move some of the existing ones around just to formalise the site a little more. But yes, they are additional spaces.
Thank you. Peter?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for that, Amy. That actually does give me cause for concern. If we're talking an extra, let's call it 32 car parking spaces, that's going to be an extra 64 movements, as I think the lady speaker mentioned. We're talking about a road that, for those of you who've not been there, and I know many of you have, that is very much a single track road. And it's an unadopted road. It's in pretty poor condition. And with all this extra traffic, it's going to only get worse. I notice in the Raunds neighbourhood plan, the R14, it talks about R14E, traffic and highway safety. I would have serious concerns about the pedestrians, cyclists, horse riders, etc., who use that road. I just feel that whilst the idea of what's being proposed has its merits, I do feel that the site is just not suitable for this extension, I don't think the road and the area can take any more. For those who know the area, there are riding stables very near to this proposed development. So yeah, a lot of horse riders are along there. I notice, Amy, in condition 17, you mentioned that the B8, which in itself has got the potential for larger vehicle traffic, that is going to be conditioned in conjunction with B1 office use. Is that something that we can enforce in future? And of course, office and B8, I mean, it could be quite big lorries coming out of there. So any, a big company like Higgins, the building suppliers, they have an office, and a B8, it could be that sort of thing. I really do feel that there's a lot of concern here about safety for the people and the overuse of the road, let alone, of course, the loss of amenity to those living there.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Peter.
If they could answer if that condition actually is enforceable, and can it be such that the B8 can be enforced to be only very...
Amy, would you like to answer that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We can strengthen that condition to include the sort of the B8 element, but I think it's important to realise that the unit isn't all, it isn't a large unit, and it is intended to be used in conjunction with the office unit rather than a separate entity. But yeah, I'm more than happy to add something to sort of strengthen that condition.
Thank you, Amy. Dudley.
It's very good how that goes in future.
Dudley, on to you, then Andy.
Thank you. I refer to 5.5, or in 2019, 5 houses, which presumably means 10 cars, was turned down on the grounds of all that we've heard about the road and the pedestrians and so on. So the same developer presumably then had to go for 2 houses, which would have only meant 4 cars. And that was turned down. Now, neither of those were appealed successfully. So one assumes that if it was not suitable to have 4 cars going along that road, it's not suitable to have 64 movements along that road, because after all, if a parking spaces are for offices, they're going to move them. They're not even like somebody's house where they might not take both cars out in the day. If there's 32 parking places, there's 64 vehicle movements, because that's the whole point of filling the offices, isn't it? So I cannot understand the logic of, one, improving the parking places, the lay-bys towards Dean Park, when we're making a restriction that all the building vehicles have got to come from Rawn's End. So there's no parking places. We're not doing anything about the ones from Rawn's End. We're doing the ones about from the Dean End, which if you've driven along that road, nobody in their right mind will bring a nice car from Dean to this place, because the road's full of potholes, and because it's not a maintained road, it's full of potholes. It's very dirty because of the tractors, and in the snow and so on, if it's bad weather, you certainly wouldn't want to drive along that road. So they're bound to come in. People are from the Rawn's End. Nobody in their right mind will come in from the other end. So, and you're telling the big vehicles, the lorries, the JCBs, the Higginses, the Dewsons, and all the rest of it, they've got to come in from the Rawn's End. Well, there aren't any parking places, any parking lay-bys. So it's absolutely, I don't understand how we can possibly, if this was turned down for 5 houses, 10 parking places, 2 houses, 4 parking places, how we can possibly have a recommendation to accept 64 vehicle movements in a day with 32 parking places. And that's not allowed.
Thank you, Dudley. I think we've got the message.
Go to these businesses and speak, and go to these businesses and actually bring business to these people, which presumably they will. So I really think it's totally unsuitable. We talk about modal shift. Well, I mean, it's impossible to get there except by car. So there's no bus and nobody's going to walk along that road. So I really feel it is a very, very poor application and shouldn't be granted.
Amy, can you give us any information on those previous applications?
Yeah, I can do. Those two applications that are referred to at 5.5, as Councillor Hughes mentioned, they have actually been appealed, and we're still waiting for the response on that. It is due shortly, but obviously we can't confirm what that will be. The routing agreement that's been mentioned was something that has been requested by members in a previous meeting about this application. So if members feel that that's not now necessary, then we can take that out of that condition. That's no problem.
Thank you, Amy. Andy, did you have your hand up?
I did.
Yes, please, and then Lance.
This is a brownfield site. That means it already has had development on it, and it means that it has a previous use history. If this application were turned down, that means that they could simply rely upon the existing history of planning permissions there. Now, is there any restriction on the number of vehicle movements in the extant planning permissions?
Amy?
Not as far as I'm aware of. No, I have familiarised myself with those applications, and I don't recall seeing anything to restrict the numbers of movements.
So in theory, the current planning permission would allow them to have 200 or 300 vehicle movements a day. Is that true?
If there are no restrictions, then in theory, yes, I guess that's true.
Okay, Lance, would you like to take the ball?
So I just wanted to clarify based on some comments there by Councillor Hughes. My understanding was that those two planning applications are ones that we heard earlier this year, and they're currently under appeal. So we actually don't know the outcome yet on. They haven't been. We're not at the end of the road on the refusal on those. Yes. And the second thing was that my understanding is that the proposed 4 passing places are in fact on the wrong side of Blotts Barn, not on the Denford side of Blotts Barn. Again, sort of clarifying the point that Mr. Hughes
Amy,
made.
could you confirm that or deny that, please?
That's not what was said earlier.
That's quite correct. Councillor Jones is right. The passing places would be between the application site itself and the start of the sort of Brooks Road.
That's not what we were told a few minutes ago.
Thank you. Jill.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad you clarified that, because I thought those passing places were on the wrong side. And also, could you just clarify, please, the routing agreement? Which way, because I can't see it anywhere, which way is the routing agreement to send vehicles? Amy.
The condition was added to the update sheet, so you'll be able to see that on there.
I can see
and
I can't see.
There's a reference to the routing agreement as one of the bullet points. Obviously, we would look further into that as part of the discharge of that condition, but the intention would be to keep those larger vehicles away from the Denford end of the road.
Because why I asked is, from what I understood from Councillor Hughes just saying, is that he thought that the routing agreement was to send them through Denford.
No,
you're saying it's not, it's the other way round.
Yeah.
Or maybe I misunderstood him then. Okay.
Okay, got that.
I drove along there earlier on, and it is a narrow road, and there's lots of sort of mud, and the grass verges are sort of cut up in places. I don't know quite what we mean by passing places, but I actually counted 13 places between Raunds, or between where those cottages are, where we had the other applications, and the site, and 13 places from there to the sharp bend on the way to Denford, where you not proper passing places, but you can actually pull in and let someone pass. I met a few vehicles on the way, so I had to give way in a few places, but people are fairly helpful with that sort of thing sometimes. Obviously, there's quite a lot of horses go along here, so I did see a horse there, so it, you know, that is a consideration. But I thought that you know, there were places where people could pass. They also, quite surprisingly, I found quite a lot of properties along there, farms, individual houses and things like that. So it's not completely, you know, out into the open countryside, nothing there, and then suddenly this block's farm. So I'm glad I went to have a look at it, because it gave me a sort of different perspective from reading the reports. I just think that application where we turned it down opposite the cottages, I got the impression, I seem to remember from that the two applications came in together, and it was a 5 and a 2 either side of a junction, and actually meant 3 entrances off the road, and that was one of the reasons we turned it down. And I must say, at that point there is a lot of parked cars, and very narrow, even narrower than the rest of the road, because there's all these vehicles parked there. So although that is significant, the fact that we turned that down, it has a slightly different perspective to it, to you know, somewhere further along. But there are quite a lot of properties where, as I say, you could pull in their driveway, or so not proper passing places, but quite a lot of places where you would actually use.
Thank you, Jill. Rob, Peter, have you got a new point to make?
I have indeed, Chairman. Thank you very much indeed. The officer previously talked about the MPPF, Para 84, talking about sort of you know, developments just outside the settlement boundaries, which she's quite right, obviously it does. But it also goes on to say, provided that it's not unacceptable impact on local roads, and my concern, as I've said before, would be that. I also notice in the Raunds neighbourhood plan, R14, I think it's, yes, R14C, talks about, you know, not having adverse impact on amenity of local residents. And I guess, well, my view is I fear this would. I think the idea of what they're proposing is quite interesting, and in another site, I would be all for it. I just feel that the nature of the road there is not suitable. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Lee, did you want to speak? Councillor
Yes,
Wilkes?
yes, sorry, trying to unmute. Thank you, Chairman. So having listened to the whole presentation this evening, and thank you to Amy as always for being so comprehensive with this, and listening to what my fellow members have said, I do still have some concerns about this one. So as has been said, it is an unadopted single track road. So this is used mainly by, there are cars that go down it clearly, but there are tractors, there are walkers, pedestrians, horses all the time. And it's important to remember there are no pavements down this road, not until we get to the houses. So for the vast majority of this road, there's no pavements. And either side of that single track road, there are really deep drainage ditches. So we've been told that this road is in such a poor state that actually highways just simply would never adopt it. It doesn't meet their standards. Now, the update sheets that we had said that employees of the proposed development could walk to the town, as it's only a 27-minute walk, and I'm sure that's true. But then remember that that walk is down a road that's got no pavements, so you have to walk on the road. Pedestrians have to stand on the muddy grass verge if they're going to let cyclists or cars or horses past. And that's going to be much more dangerous if they have to stand on a muddy verge when there are an additional 60-odd cars potentially going down it, and HGVs. I was interested that the applicant mentioned that this application was in line with Raunds Town Council neighbourhood plan, but that just isn't correct. It does contravene policy R13 because this isn't designated as an employment site. And as Councillor Watson quite rightly said, it also contravenes policy R14, not actually just R14C, but it contravenes R14 A, B, C, D and E. So it isn't in line with the neighbourhood plan. And just coming back to the talk about the passing places, I can understand that we want to try and direct any HGVs that leave the site. We want to try and direct them right towards Raunds, past the stables and the animal sanctuary. I mean, that clearly isn't ideal, but we want to try and divert them right. But what happens if they turn left? If they turn left, then they are going to go down 2 miles or so of single track road with very few passing spaces, and none of them are going to, no new ones are going to be created. So there's only informal, muddy passing places. Now, I'm sure, as Councillor Jones said at the beginning of this, that even officers are really finely balanced on this application. And taking everything into account, I just don't see how I can support this application when existing road users, and when I talk about road users, I'm including the children that walk down there, that cycle down there, that go to school, the dog walkers, the horse riders, they are going to be put at increased risk with the increased traffic. Not just the employees going to and from this site, but now we're talking about potential HGVs going to a proposed B8 warehouse. Regardless of the size of that B8, it's another warehouse. So it is a real difficult one, Chairman. I just don't see how we can possibly support it, I have to say.
Thank you, Lee. Amy, do you have any comments on those last points from Councillor Wilkes?
Only very briefly, and I think it would be there's 2 points really. One on the condition of the road. I think yes, I mean it is a single width road, and there's no getting around that. But I mean, in my opinion, the surface of the road from the Raunds end up to the actual access itself isn't all that bad. I think it could definitely serve the proposal. With the passing places, I think we need to bear in mind that this is going to improve the sort of experience of using the road for everyone, not just the people accessing the proposed offices. And on the policy side of things, I think my position is set out quite clear in the report. I don't think there's anything else that I can really add to that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Andy, I see you, but just give us a minute. Lee, you want to come back?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I do want to come back. I appreciate what Amy's trying to say, but I absolutely just can't agree that creating some passing places is going to improve the experience of using that road for all concerned. How on earth can creating some passing places improve the use of that road for children that are cycling down there when we're talking about increasing the HGVs or horse riders or cyclists? I can imagine what it does is it means that if a car's coming the other way, you can pull in somewhere and let it pass. But it by no way can that improve it for the pedestrians and the dog walkers and the horse riders and the cyclists. It just can't. They are not going to be able to run to the next passing place when there's a HGV coming the other way. That's just not going to happen. They're going to have to stand on the side of a muddy road.
Thank you, Lee. Andy, did you want to come back?
I just want to ask another question. If this is not an adopted road, who maintains the road surface?
Nobody.
Well,
Amy, do you have an answer for that?
Sorry, that cut out just as
I asked
people were
if
talking.
this is
Could
not,
you repeat that question, please?
if this is not an adopted road and it's quite long, who maintains the road surface?
Nobody is the answer.
Please leave it to the officer.
It's worse and worse.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Amy, I can hear you, yes.
Hello?
Yeah, Amy, carry on. Can you answer the question?
I'm not aware that yeah, I'll try. I'm not sure actually who is responsible for maintaining that road. As you say, it's not adopted, so I don't think it is the Highway Authority. Thank you.
Okay, so we don't know. Dudley, you had your hand up again.
Chair, I'm so sorry. It's Vanessa, legal officer. If I may interject at this point, if it's not an adopted road, it is a private road. I haven't had the opportunity to consider the land registry for that particular part or piece of the road, but the landowner has responsibility for upkeep of the road as if it was a private road on an estate.
Thank you, Vanessa. Dudley, carry on.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's an interesting question, because if the landowner owns the road, the landowner does give or does not give a right of access over it, because we all know about people who have shared drives and all the rest of it. We have that experience here. So if it's not adopted, the answer, Amy, is nobody ever repairs anything on that road. Occasionally someone's going to dump a bit of tarmac if it's just outside the house, but nobody does much repairs to it. And I wonder, we should, before we can actually give a consent to this, whether we need to investigate whether there is a right of access over this road for heavy vehicles and so on. The fact that when there was 3 barns or so converted in the first place, which meant quite a small scale development, now you're talking quite a large scale development outside the neighbourhood plan, outside the village envelope, on roads that are just totally, and you know, the young people walking along to school and so on. When we had Ringstead, if you remember the quarry, we forced the quarry providers to provide a footpath in the end after a long lot of hassle, because they were just exactly the same. There was no footpath and the young people walking along the side of the road. So I think if we have this development passed, we should force them to spend 150,000, which is very little compared to the cost of development, to build a proper footpath, which of course now they say is
Amy,
costly.
have you got an answer for that?
I've just been updated by one of my colleagues, Paddy Reid, who you'll know dealt with the other 2 applications further up the road. He informs me that it is an adopted road and that highways have got this wrong in the past. So I think we need to work on the basis that it is adopted. He informs me that it shows that on NCC's own website that I wasn't aware of. Thank you.
Sorry, Amy, you're thinking now that it probably is adopted.
Yeah, having just had a message from Patrick Reid, who has had the same issue, I think, with highways. Yes. He tells me that yes, it actually is adopted.
Right. Okay, Andy.
Well, can I come back on that, because I raised the original question? If we're now being told that the information we've been previously given about whether the adoption status of this road is incorrect, then that means that several of the conditions may well need to be revisited, and it suggests to me that this application needs to be, if you like, thought about carefully before we make a decision, because we've suddenly got a complete change of the environment. If it's an adopted road, then highway standards must be applied for access along it, and we've been assuming that they didn't.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I hope Lance heard that, and we'll take that into account when he makes a proposal. So we've got 2 hands waving again for the 3rd and 4th times. Have you got a new point, Andy?
Yeah.
Sorry, not Andy. Peter?
Yes, I have, Chairman. We've got to judge this on the paperwork that we've been provided with. And Local Highways Authority in the report say they have no intention of adopting this road. Now, I'm not disputing what Amy's colleague has said, but I don't think we can go by a third-party comment that, with all due respect, we've no idea of its validity. Whereas in the report, we have the comment that the local highways say they have no intention of adopting the road. I think we have to assume not that it is adopted, but that it is unadopted. Thank you, Chairman.
Peter, I don't think we need to assume anything. I think we need to probably defer this one and find out for sure, because it's an important point, isn't it?
There, Chairman.
Carolyn, are you in on this now?
Yeah, I was just going to say I've been sent an image of the NCC highways maps, and it is showing the road as being adopted.
Right. So we
that alters.
Andy could well be right that we have to change some of the conditions and other wording, bearing in mind that is a new bit of information to us. Do we need to defer this to get our report correct, is what's going through my mind. What do you think about that, Amy?
Yeah, I think a deferral would be the best option. I think we need to be absolutely clear on the information that we're considering before we make a decision.
Okay, Dudley.
But knowing how the Highways Authority have to be consulted to put even a road sign up, you can't start doing passing places and so on to an adopted road. You can only do that to a private road, because you can't alter a highway that is a public highway. So if it's a public highway, it's an adopted road. All the business about passing places doesn't apply, unless the Highways Authority approves it and does it, of course, at their cost. Yes. They won't do it unless it's properly done.
I think we all need the report to be absolutely 100% accurate to make our decision. So, Lance, you've heard that. So, do you?
Chairman, I'm very happy to propose the deferral of this application until such time as we have a further report clarifying the status from the local Highways Authority.
Thank you, Lance. Can I have a seconder for that?
Yes, I'm happily second.
Peter Watson's a seconder. So now we'll go to a vote on this deferral. All those in favour say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone against say no. Any abstentions? Therefore that proposal is carried. Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Robin, are you out of it?
I don't think so.
Well, I think you should be, because we're going on to the third application now,
Yes.
and you've got to get up in the.
No. I mean the. If it was a normal meeting, I would be in the public gallery and I would be listening to what was said. That was my point.
Vanessa, I think you suggested what he should do, didn't you? What should Robin do now?
That's right. Councillor Underwood is fine. If we were in the chamber, he would be in the meeting, hearing and seeing what's going on. He's just not going to take part in the debate. He's going to speak to address the committee himself. But Councillor Underwood is not taking part as a councillor in respect
so his speech he's going to give to us. He's going to object to the application to us.
That's right. He's going to address the committee as an objector and not as a member of this committee taking part in the debate or the vote.
So he can't vote either.
No. He's not going to vote
fine.
at all.
You're okay with that, Robin?
Yes.
Right. Let's move on then to the application on page 48, which is Rushton one again. I think, Barbara, we asked you to handle this one, didn't we, the other day?
You did, Chairman, yes.
Are you okay with that?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you very much. So to introduce it, we have Jennifer, who's going to tell us all about it.
I'll just share my screen, bear with me a minute.
Can you speak up? We've got a problem with your sound.
Is that better?
That's better. It's still not proper, but it's better.
Okay. I'll try and talk loud. Is my screen shared with you?
Not yet. No. Can you speak up, Jennifer?
Can't
hear. Yeah, I'll try.
She is doing.
I'm just trying to share my screen at the moment. Jen, would you? Oh, you've sorted it. Is it there? Oh, that's the old one. I need the new one up.
Got the front page.
No, you
You
haven't.
see the one that says 840?
Yes.
Yes.
Just start then. Right, sorry about that. The detailed officer's report is taken as read and there are no updates to the report. So I'm going to summarise the key points for you. The proposal is for an extension to an existing care home which sits at the corner of Essex Road and Park Road in Rushden. The extension will provide an additional 6 bedrooms to the care facility, a therapy room and lounge, as well as bin store, boiler room and extension to the laundry. This application is a resubmission of a previous application which was reported to committee for an 8-bedroom extension. That application was refused and dismissed at appeal on the grounds of visual impact to the proposal and that there would be inadequate levels of external amenity space. As such, this application seeks to address the grounds for refusal and has been revised by, firstly, reducing the number of bedrooms proposed from 8 to 6, and by reducing the width, depth and height of the proposed southern extension here on Park Road. So this side part of the extension, if you can see my cursor, has been significantly reduced, but with the width, depth and height. And this one, the wavy red line, sorry, shows the sort of scale of the one that was previously refused. They've also increased the amount of external amenity space within the development and retained the trees and landscaping here on this boundary. The site is relatively prominent, occupying a corner plot and has been significantly enlarged. The proposed extension to the north and south would be visible within the street scene. The previous application was refused on the impact of the southern extension and that it would be an over-dominant addition. The amendments to the design, height and massing are considered to be subordinate and more in keeping with the extension more in keeping with the existing building rather than the extension. The trees to the south will now be retained, which increases the distance separation to Devon Walk and provides a break within the streetscape. The second reason for refusal was the lack of external amenity space that resulted in the loss of a lawn and most of the vegetation within the site. This amended scheme retains the landscaping here and an amenity and proposes an amenity area off this bedroom down here, as well as a shared undercover space for outdoor activity and parking. Internal alterations have also been made to the proposal, which includes an additional lounge and a therapy room for the residents, and the removal of any new car park facing bedroom windows so that no bedroom would overlook the car park. The proposed ground floor bedroom here would have a view over the south facing garden. Finally, the proposal is considered to not result in any harm to residential amenities or detriment to highway safety. The proposal would result in the addition of 8 parking spaces for a total of 13, which was the same amount as the proposed under the previous application. No objection was raised to the level of parking or access on the previous application. In terms of residential amenity, the distance to properties on Devon Walk has been increased and the intervening vegetation retained. The relationship to the adjoining property was considered during the previous application and the appeal, and it was concluded that there'd be no detrimental impact on adjoining properties. This application represents a reduction in scale and size, and as such the same conclusion has been reached. The officer's recommendation is to grant approval subject to the conditions as set out in the officer's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. We now move to a speaker, which is Robin, of course. So, Robin.
Yes, sir.
You've got 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman and members. On the first application, the applicant went to appeal and was dismissed. The inspector concluded that the main issue was the character and appearance of the area, the living conditions of the current and future occupiers, with regard to outdoor amenity space and overdevelopment. The new extension, in my opinion, does not provide sufficient amenity space, provides a reduction in living conditions, and is still overdevelopment. The whole structure on Park Road elevation is not balanced, and the extension should be set back in line with the original Victoria building. This obviously cannot happen because there will be even less parking within the site and less amenity space. There is still insufficient car parking spaces in accordance with the County Council policies. Also, there are changes on the Essex Road application to the elevation, and that wasn't mentioned by the officer, and there has been an objection from a resident. In conclusion, the now proposed size of the extension does, in my opinion, change the appeal inspector's decision for the first application. Furthermore, JCS policy 8 criteria E, which encourage development which supports a good quality of life and safer and healthier communities, to ensure that the development is of an acceptable design and no impact on neighbouring amenity or highway safety, could be used for a refusal. I therefore urge members, as previously, to refuse this application, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Councillor Underwood. We've got now not the ward member, but the next door ward member to propose the application to us. So that's Barbara.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Well, as mentioned, the previous application submitted last year was rejected due to concerns that the extension facing Park Road would have an overbearing impact on the neighbouring properties in Park Road and Devon Walk. There were also concerns that the proposed extension would not provide sufficient amenity space for the residents up to Essex Road. These concerns were upheld by the inspector. Although the new application proposes a 50% increase in floor space, the extension to the main building is reduced in size and the design ties in with the Victorian element of the building. So the visual impact is improved. It could still be seen as overbearing in terms of scale to the bungalow opposite on Park Road, but I'm not sure that this is to a significant extent. The provision of more amenity space is also met and will greatly aid the well-being of the residents of the care home, who I understand are those that suffer from brain injury and would benefit from having some amenity space. Parking was a concern of the last application, but was not put forward as a reason for approval. Reason for refusal. The increase in on-site parking provision from 5 vehicles to 13 is obviously welcomed. With regard to the extension overlooking Essex Road, a greater impact would be a sense of massing on Essex Road, as it is proposed to demolish the detached garage, which is 2 stories, and rebuild, linking this to the main building. The site is accessed via an underpass. This was not put forward to the inspector last time, so would maybe not be supported with this application. I notice in Highways comments they have queried whether a large van would need to access the site for food delivery, laundry collection, in which case conditions would be required for gates, parking and visibility. I can't read my own writing. Visibility displays. and construction management plan. I see that there is a condition to cover the construction management plan, but no mention is made to gates or the visibility displays. The police have not commented from a secured by design perspective. There are currently gates on the site, but these are not indicated as far as I can see on the proposed plan. I'd be grateful for the officer's comment as to the position with these conditions requested by Highways. Subject to that, I'll open it up to members for their comment.
Thank you, Barbara. Jennifer, can you give us some thought on those two topics, I think?
Yes, I'll come straight back on the Highways. The gates have been removed and aren't shown on the layout plan, and they've also reduced the wall, so the visibility display would be compliant. If considered necessary, I think we could impose a condition ensuring that they can't put gates on at a later date, and that might be an advantageous thing to do if we felt that that was necessary. So hopefully that answers that question. Can I just go back to the comment on the reasons for refusal of the previous application, and it was refused on a residential amenity on the occupiers of the care home and an unsatisfactory level of outdoor external amenity space. The reason for refusal of that 2019 application didn't include impact on adjoining residential properties. It was solely based on the impact it would have on the occupiers of the care home. Just to go back, if I'm going to try and share my screen again, I seem to have a bit of a delay. Just bear with me. I think it was something Councillor Underwood said, and I apologise, I did actually say there's no changes, and it was the I've gone to this is the previous application. I want to show you, I haven't got it on this one, that doesn't work. Sorry, bear with me. Can you see my screen?
No, we did, but it's gone.
I'll talk about it. It was the changes on the Essex Road elevation. I do apologise. Yes, there was some minor alterations to windows on that fenestration, which included reduction in the number of first floor windows and the insertion of a ground floor window, which would serve a boiler room on the ground floor. So I failed to mention that, so I'll just correct myself on that one.
Okay.
And I think that was everything, unless I've missed something. Sorry.
Fine, I think you're all right with that. Well, we'll come back to you if not. Andy, you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chairman. Comparing this with the previous application, the amenity space, although not greatly extended, is practically extended. By that I mean that it actually has a significant practical benefit compared with the previous application. When people are sick, there's quite a lot of research which demonstrates that they recover more quicker and healthier if they've got a green aspect that they can sit and watch. A number of the people in this residence in the previous application didn't have that. Now they have. So there is a significant improvement in this application compared with the last one. Also, it's slightly less overbearing. So that means that in summary, the planning balance has moved slightly in the direction of granting from where it was previously. It was quite a way over onto the direction of refusal last time, which is why the inspector supported our decision. With whether it has gone over the threshold from refusal to grant, I'm not totally convinced. I think it's right on the cusp at the moment.
Thank you, Andy. Anyone else wish to speak? Jill?
Thank you, Chair. Could I just check with the officer on the number of staff? At 3.4, it mentions 18 full-time equivalent plus 2 members on waking nights. How does that compare? Is that the current staff, or and with the new extension, will there be more staff?
Figures referred to what would be required.
Sorry, you went mute then. You muted yourself.
Can you hear me? Sorry, yes. That it refers to how many staff would be required for the extended nursing home.
Right. So, because I did it as well. I was comparing that to the 13 parking spaces. I mean, as Highways haven't objected to that, it would be difficult. But it just, if it was 20 now and then going up, it would have been an even bigger jump. Overall, it's a much better application, and the main reason we turned it down last time was because of the lack of the green space for the residents to either go out and, you know, in a wheelchair and just enjoy it, or look out of the window into it. I was just not sure at 7.20 though, whether they had, I mean, the windows on the back that look out to the grass, are they able to see out from those windows to the green area? Because from when I was reading that, it looked more as though they were sort of going to be obscure glazed and things like that. So if you could just clarify that for me, because that is the crux of it, is whether the residents will be able to see out onto the green area.
Jennifer?
Yeah, so yes, all the bedrooms have been orientated so they have views over the green space or external at the site, rather than directly overlooking the car park area.
Thank you, Jennifer. That's
Okay,
great.
thank you. That was my main concern, that I couldn't see, you know, where the bedrooms are looking out. But yeah, it's not perfect, but it's certainly a lot better than it was.
Any other comments from any other members? Barbara, we're going to come back to you for a proposal anyway, but have you got a comment before that?
I'd like to just come back on the question of the gates. I believe it was said that these are now removed, and it's not the intention that they're put back. I assumed that the gates were there for the safety of the residents. I'd like a confirmation that that is not the case, and that Highways asking for gates is not a requirement.
Down to you again, Jennifer.
It's just, I just need to look at something. Just bear with me so I get this correct.
Sure.
So the gates were removed from the scheme to ensure that the rear parking was utilised and it didn't deter people from not entering the car park to park. So that they have been removed, and so as far as I'm aware, they're not required for the safety of residents, but that's my knowledge of it. If you were concerned that there needed to be some gates, the condition usually refers to the fact they have to be set back into the site, so it doesn't restrict somebody pulling off the highway. So we have a standard condition we can use for that, that sort of, if the gates are required, they have to be set back a certain metre from the highway entrance to allow vehicles to pull off clear of the highway.
Yeah, sounds right. Barbara, did you want that to be a condition? No
I
gates?
think that would be a requirement, yes. Other than that, it's not ideal for residents. They will still feel there is some impact in overbearing, but as it stands, I don't see that we have sufficient grounds to refuse this application that would stand up at appeal. So on that basis, I would have to recommend
Sorry,
approval.
Barbara, I'm
Thank
sorry
you.
to interrupt. Just before you make a proposal, Chairman, I have been asking if I can ask a question. You may just not have seen the chat, but I'm just keen to get
It's
my.
only just come up.
Okay, maybe it's slow.
Well, I
on
haven't
the
taken the
internet.
seconder yet.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to get that in just for point of clarification. Sorry, Barbara, but before you make the proposal. So can I just wanted to check, is there a designated parking space then for the delivery vehicles? So I see that the highways were saying that if a van was going to go in there, there would need to be a designated parking space. I just couldn't see it.
What the highways actually requested was they wanted to query what the size of the largest vehicle that would need access into the site. It wasn't that it needed a parking space. The concern I had with this wasn't a consideration or a concern on the previous application, which was for a larger development and with the same amount of parking and turning facilities that have been provided. The likeliness is it would just be a van, I would have thought, that would serve this site. And if it was larger and couldn't enter the site, that would have to park on the highway. It wasn't that there was needed a parking space for any vehicle that served the care home.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay.
Peter, have you got a question? Peter? No?
I think Andy had his hand up, Chair.
Yeah, Andy, you want to speak again?
No.
We've
No,
got Peter back now.
No, it's not that Peter, it's Peter Thomas.
Oh.
But anyway, that's gone. So Andy, you had your hand up, you speak.
Well, I was going to say that I would be prepared to second the motion, but with the proviso that the final wording conditions be delegated to the Head of Planning Services in consultation with the Chair, Vice Chair and Councillor Barbara Jenny.
Right, thank you. That's done. So it's been proposed and seconded that we accept the application with the conditions that we talked about and what Councillor Mercer has just said. I need now please a vote from you all. Are you in favour of that proposal? Say aye.
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 Are you against that proposal? Say no. Are you abstaining? Then that's carried. So thank you. We've got through that one as well. So I think that's all we have tonight, isn't it? It's enough. Thank you, Jennifer. Very nicely explained. And we'll see you all on Friday. We have a briefing again, don't we?
You won't see me and Jill because we've got a site.
Yeah, I understand that. Yes, understand that. Okay then. Cheerio all.
Good night, councillors.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night all.